parties to dispute that, it is a civil matter. And according to state statutes here in Florida, once a civil matter is initiated, law enforcement does not get involved to determine the dispute.
Okay.
So that's why we're responding, documenting in the system what we understand. Obviously, all those interactions are recorded in our CAD system. And then when you guys finally get to a point that you actually have a hearing, then a judge can determine, based on all of the facts that they have, what they want to do with the property and who they want to associate as the legal owner.
And here's my issue. In the meantime, that could be a year.
Could be.
In the meantime, I live this every day.
Right.
It's not the worst thing. We could work this out.
Right.
In some ways.
Getting
But
away from the garbage
they
truck.
put their trash out in there. They go out of their way to put their trash there. We have moved their trash bin. I have written notes asking them not to put their trash
Right.
can, that it was private property. Twice they have taken the note I put on the trash can, threw it into my front yard, threatened me that if I moved their trash can again, they were going to put bags of trash in my front yard. So this is what I live with every day.
Sure.
So as a resident of Grid, I feel like you guys have to say, okay, this is going on, but this is not the city of Turtle Beach. This is the city of Rahoon. And Turtle Beach is a whole bunch of different things that you question why and how and who they knew. Did they just make rules to appease them? You guys as the town have to represent me, not just Turtle Beach.
So we're not representing Turtle Beach, nor are we representing you. That's what you hired an attorney to do.
Okay, then
All we're doing is maintaining the state standards that exist and any local ordinances that we're required to adhere to.
Okay.
And that state statute is, when there is a private property dispute and it becomes a civil matter, we are not getting involved.
Did you see what was happening last week at the track?
The
Did
officer
you see
that responded called me and updated me, and the entire incident was recorded on body
Okay.
camera, and he was here for almost an hour.
May I submit to you guys some recording that I did with being threatened
No, ma'am.
by their
It-
lawyer?
no, not if it's a lawyer issue, no,
No,
because they're...
he's
Okay,
their resident.
I
Go ahead.
have one question
Ma'am,
here.
I'm just trying to find out who you are, because
Oh,
I
I'm
got
sorry.
called by her, so now
Gabby.
I'm
I'm
confused.
She is
sorry, I
also
thought you
part
knew
of
me.
the owner.
I'm Gabby Curry, live across the street. We're both involved in this,
Okay.
and Debbie's asked me to be here with her, and I have an interest in this as well.
Okay.
And I heard the back end of what you had to say regarding the civil suit, and my question is this: there is a corporation of people, an LLC, that has a deed to this property that exists right now on record.
Right.
Apparently there is some suit possibly being brought, hasn't been brought yet. Don't you have a duty to enforce the existing, right now, today's situation, which is this property is owned by an LLC, not Turtle Beach? There is possibly some dispute, I understand what you're saying, but that hasn't happened yet.
It is happening, because we're here, aren't we? And when we talk
And
to you
their
all,
Legal
trash.
you
dispute,
say
sir.
one thing.
I'm sorry, sir, but the legal
No,
dispute has not happened yet.
What, by means of legal dispute not happening yet, what do you mean? That nothing has been formally filed in the courts?
Yes.
Well, your attorney hasn't formally filed anything in the courts either regarding the incident.
But we did
But
put the
you
town
guys
on
did
notice.
send us a notice
Yes.
via certified mail, which
Right.
then tells us there's a legal issue occurring over this property. There's a dispute. The letter contained that
There's
content.
not the issue is that there's not a dispute over the ownership of the property.
But there is.
The notice that you were given was that there's a dispute over the use of the property.
Correct. So it's the same
Trespass
thing.
use. I don't see that as being the same thing.
It is, when you take into consideration the statements that you all provided when we were here previously and the statements they provided when we responded to that call as well. There is an ongoing property dispute. We've all just talked about what that property dispute is. That property, before you all owned it, was owned by a previous owner, And this
Slider.
customary use of items were being done this way previously as well. They were using the paved surface to exit and enter their property.
Not with the gate. The gate was
The gate has nothing to do with our conversation right now because I'm not a building official.
Right,
I'm
but
here
I'm just saying the
regarding the
gate
dispute
crosses
over the
our
property.
property.
Well,
Right, but I can't
there's
control
there's
that
a
issue.
point regarding the building official. Apparently, there is a permit for the gate and the keypad.
I wouldn't know about that because I'm not the building official.
Right.
Oh,
But
so we have to contact the building
You
official
would,
for
because
that.
the police don't have anything to do with building permits. But the issue that I'm saying is that paved surface that has been there since I started here has been there since I started here.
That's fine, but that
And-
doesn't give them the right to put their garbage on private property.
It also doesn't give you all the right to put their garbage on their driveway, which is a misdemeanor in Florida when you obscure and prohibit the use of their driveway.
That's why they put it out this morning. Because they were going to call
'Cause
the
they
police
know.
on me, and it was a misdemeanor. Isn't
And
that interesting?
I'm going to tell you exactly the same
so what
thing
can
I
I
told
do with their
them.
garbage? That's what I'm asking you.
You're saying
it
they
is
have
on
the
their
right.
property.
No,
What can
I'm
we
saying
do
that
with
you
it?
can't block an entrance or an exit to a property, period.
But they can put their garbage on our private property.
Because there's a dispute, yes. If there was no dispute, if you were the owners of that property
Which
and then
we are.
this just started and there was never a dispute over ownership of this property, whether it's perpetual ownership, whether it's customary
Oh,
use.
there never has been a dispute.
Okay, well, I disagree with you. I think there is. And I think the dispute has been ongoing, and I think that the dispute was well known before you all bought the property based on all the conversations that the whole community has had about that property way before you all purchased
Well,
it.
I told you.
And
It's-
whether or not a
it's-
motorhome could be put there,
Well,
and we
that's
were
why
having
we said
issues
that.
then too.
Totally.
And I'm so happy you all bought the property because
Yeah,
I didn't
we're
want
not
that
so
to
sure
be
we're
claimed.
so happy.
We're
By
trying
the
to
way, we have a
avoid.
warranty deed on that property.
Right,
So we do.
And
Yeah.
title insurance.
I understand that.
And I just looked up quiet title. And if it's more than 20 years, then
So
they
I
don't have a
offered,
case.
I offered a solution. Okay.
Oh, we'd like to
Tell me.
hear
I
that.
offered it to the officer that was here last week, Officer Pylon, and I asked him to share it with you.
Okay.
If your attorney would file an emergency motion for an injunction, okay?
Okay.
A judge can hear this case in 10 days,
Okay.
okay? And it forces them to take everything that they have at this moment in time and present it as part of their evidence, not for them to have the next 6 months to build evidence.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And then once your motion is filed and a judge hears it, the judge makes a ruling that day. If the judge says they're in violation, we follow that order because that's a judge's order. It's no longer a civil dispute. It's now a finding of fact, and it's an injunction.
Okay.
Okay? So those are things we can work with because that is a court hearing that is no longer a civil dispute anymore. It's now there's fact for us to be able to buy into.
Okay.
Okay? And
I
I
like
told
that.
them the exact same thing when they called us. So
That's why they kept yelling.
I
Get a
think
judge. It's like, what are you people
I
talking
think it's
about? I mean, they got a
valuable.
plan. Believe me, they got a plan.
I think it's valuable for
Step
you
back
all,
here. Sorry,
not
but-
just the
Do you want to
sun
come
is-
out of the sun?
I think it's valuable for you all to be able to get a resolution sooner than later.
Believe
Would
me.
be
Okay.
nice.
I bought this house. I've owned property down the street for 14 years. I love Ocean Rouge. Why do you think I bought a house here?
And-
I still own the condo and I have
And
a house.
the court
And I
order
moved
may
here.
not resolve
I've never
every
had
dispute
people.
that
We
you may
have a
have,
private
but at least
beach.
it gets something
never had
on the
people
record
do
for the
that.
trespassing issue. Those things that are most problematic right now, the gate, the driveway, the trash.
Okay.
If you can get a judge to hear those three things as part of that emergency hearing, it would be so easy for you all and for us and for them because honestly they can't dispute the issue anymore with anything. I mean, the judge says whatever. The judge could find in favor of you all and say, okay, you know what, until we have a more formal hearing, this is the order of this court, right? Or the judge could say, we need a lot more facts and we can't make a decision. Or the judge could clearly say, you know what, this is very clear and I'm going to make a decision immediately. So there's a couple routes the courts could take, but at least you would have some resolution quicker than later.
Okay, let me talk about today. Somebody has trash on my property. Can you remove it? And
I
take
will
it
not
away?
remove the trash.
If somebody threw stuff all over the front yard, what do I do?
You could clean it up, throw it away.
Where do
If
I
we
put
could
it?
legally tell who dumped that on your property, that is a misdemeanor in the state of Florida,
Well,
and we
that
could
is
file.
what's happening right over there.
It is not what's happening.
We have
Because
video.
of the civil matter issue, there is a dispute over ownership.
Okay.
There's no dispute over ownership here. It's clearly
Well, trash
outlined.
was thrown into her yard.
A note was thrown into her yard as part of the initial complaint. From my understanding, I wasn't here that day, but that's what the
I have
officer
it on
explained.
video.
Okay.
I have the guy throwing it there.
Very
and saying,
aggressively.
Are you Donna? I said, no, I'm Debbie. Debbie Cook. I even put my name on the notes. This is private property. Please do not put your trash here. Debbie Cook and my telephone
So the
number.
note that
So,
you
yeah.
placed was the note that ended up back
Yes.
in your yard.
Yes.
How do you want me to handle that? It was your garbage to start with.
It's the
So-
town of
And
Turtle
now
Beach,
it's-
Debbie.
Okay.
It's the
so
town of
this
Turtle
is
Beach.
what I'm saying.
I'm just asking
okay.
you.
So I'm saying to you that I am an Ocean Ridge resident.
Right.
No, I'm not a Turtle Beach resident. I want you to work for me as much as you work for them. You told me what you told both of them.
Yes.
But every day for the next 10 days at the soonest, and it may take longer.
Sure.
Let's say 2 weeks. Every day, I'm getting a FU. That's what that is. And I can't do a thing about it. That's the only
I can't
reason
do
I
a thing
bought
about
that
it either.
property is that's what I was getting, that you're not going to the beach anymore. I was told by Susan that it's a private beach and that we maintain it, and it would be like me swimming in your pool by you coming to my beach. I have had this in my face since I bought that house, and I'm kind of tired of Turtle Beach getting to do what they want, put signs up that even the commissioners say they're not sure. And your town lawyer said she's not quite sure.
I'm not
it's
here about the
legal,
sign
all that.
dispute.
I get it, but I'm saying right now I have an issue, and I want you to tell me what to do.
And I've told you already.
To
You just
leave
don't
it
like
there
the
or
advice
do
that
the-
I've given
okay,
you.
I'm going to move it right now. So where can I legally move
I
it?
can't tell you where you can move it to.
So the police is saying Turtle Beach can put their
No,
trash
ma'am, you're
where
saying
they
that.
want.
You're putting those words
But
in
you're
your own
not
mouth.
enforcing that they do not put their trash on my property.
Because of the legal dispute that is currently in the works, it is a civil matter. We are not getting involved in that.
And who,
If they
who
took-
actually decided that? It was a civil
It's a
matter?
state statute, and we get to make that determination based on the call for service and how the information that we gather at that time.
Okay, so the chief of police made
Nope,
that
the
decision?
individual officer that was here the first day, with
Decided
all the
it was a
facts that
civil
he knew about, decided that. And I'm saying that I agree with that decision and that I would make the same decision, and I'm making the same decision today.
Okay, does the chief of police have a say in this?
What do you mean, have a say in it?
Huh? You're the chief of
I am the
police?
chief of police.
Oh, see,
You
I
asked
didn't
for
know
me,
you
that's
were
why I
coming.
came.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm thinking they sent an officer up.
No.
Thank you. That's good to know. So you're the one that made that decision. Did
No,
the
the
town?
officer made the decision the day he was here.
Okay.
I support that decision, and I'm here today, and I would make the same decision. I would
Okay.
not do it any differently.
Okay. So what do I do with the trash? Just
Well,
leave
the
it
officer
there?
that day said that he thought he pretty much had it resolved with you all, and that you guys were going to leave things be until your attorneys work things out.
When
That's
I
what
was-
I was told.
Okay, the first night I called the police on them. 2 officers came and said, you have the right to remove any trash from your yard and put it back on the other people's. And that's what I did.
Okay.
The next officer said, I can't tell you what to do. I said, okay, well, I was told I can put it there. And he said, if you want to put it there, you can. And like I wasn't doing anything wrong, I did it right in front of him. And then all hell let loose.
Sure.
So again, right now, I'm not allowed to touch those on my own property. Is that right?
You know who the owner of those garbage cans are.
I know it's a resident
Correct.
of...
You know as much as I do. It's a resident. What resident? I don't know what resident it is. But you know it's a resident of Turtle Beach.
Right.
If you relocate those garbage cans to another location that's their property and not your property, that's your decision, not my decision. I'm not giving you any legal advice on how you can or can't do that. What I'm telling you is you can't block an entranceway or an exit way. That is a statutory violation. That's all I'm telling you. If you don't block the entranceway, then I don't really care what you do as it relates to that, because there's no statute that covers that. What I'm telling you is that since there is a civil dispute, we are not going to give you legal advice, because that's what you have an attorney for, and we're not allowed to.
Okay.
And we are not going to get involved in the matter beyond responding to the calls for service and trying to help you all resolve them the best way we can to keep peace between the two communities. That's it. Meaning peace, nobody fighting.
Well,
I
you
know
what?
there's not peace in the sense of tranquility, but I don't want you all out here in an all-out fight
Right.
over an issue like that. That's what we're here to do, is to keep that from
And I
happening.
guess, and I apologize for not knowing the
That's
chief
okay.
of police. I don't have a lot of interaction with the police department, thankfully. The thing I think when I heard that morning, when we had our trash over there, and I have it on video also, that they're saying, we've already talked to the chief of police.
There's been zero
They are
conversation
not
with
coming
me.
out. I have them
There
saying
was
that.
zero conversation with me until Mark Feinstein was contacted by my office after you guys called the day that Officer Pylon showed up. I called Mark Feinstein, who's the president of their HOA.
And he's the one that threw the paper
And
in
I
my
explained to him
And
that
threatened
I would
me.
make the suggestion to him, the same suggestion that I referred you all to have, is that you guys file either one or both for an emergency injunction to resolve this matter quicker than later. And that was all the conversation contained. There was no discussion beyond that.
Because in my mind, it just seems, and I hate to accuse anybody of anything, but it just seems like Turtle Beach has Ocean Ridge in their pocket.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way. I can't speak to you about permitting and all those things that we talked about earlier, because I don't have anything to do with that at all. I don't see it, I don't hear about it, I don't know, unless I'm in a meeting that just happens to be a town meeting that we're required to be in and there's a discussion. That's the only time I ever hear those kind of things come about. We don't have anything to do with permitting. I agree with you, that gate was not there when I started here. It was an arm only that was installed. I don't know how that was permitted. I don't know what surveys were presented. I don't know any of that. Just as much as I don't know about the signs that were placed on the beach and what surveys were used for that process, all I know is the town manager signed the permit process.
Exactly. And when you look at the maps and see this is where the property was, and all of a sudden they're changed all the way out into the water, and permits and all these signs, you're like, how?
Well, and I can
was
tell
born in
you,
Florida.
they
This
weren't
was
the first
beaches grow
property
up.
to do that. There are several properties along our beach that have done that.
But they're the first to put all the signs.
Some
up
of them
there.
involved other commissioners prior to this commissioner as well. This is a
That's the
bigger
whole
this
thing.
is a bigger issue than this property dispute.
That is the whole thing. And that issue is very concerning to me. And that's when that issue comes up. And again, I own a condo. I own the beach, like they said. But beaches in Florida are for everybody. This is not about the signs. So then when I see this, you're doing this to me. I had to buy a pathway to get to the beach because you're trying to block me out. I can walk down to my own condo and go, it's the whole thing of it. And so then I have to buy it. Now you're saying you're going to use it for a dump. You're going to do whatever you want. It's like, it feels like the town of Turtle Beach to me. And
Like I said, I'm
this is
sorry.
not the
I don't-
Ocean Ridge I bought into.
I don't have anything
you
to
guys-
do with them.
I have no problem with you guys. I'm not fighting you.
I don't
want
have
you to help me.
I will tell you right now, I don't have any private meetings with any of the commissioners, that one or any of the other ones. I
Well,
refuse to
that's-
do it because
you.
I
I'm
don't
glad
want
to
to
hear
be
that.
brought into any kind of discussion or dispute over any kind of political issues or politics in general. Okay? And as a result, I probably don't have the same reputation that previous chiefs have had with the commission. Okay?
Well, that's
but
good to hear,
I'm
too.
supposed to be impartial. I'm supposed to be a police officer first. Chief is after that, okay? And I swore when I took the oath as a police officer and as a chief that I would uphold the Constitution and the state laws, not political powers, not disputes over, politics and all those things. I'm not getting involved in that. I refuse to. That's why I don't get involved in building. That's why I don't get involved in any of those things. Okay? and I'm sorry that you feel the way you do, and I would encourage you to show up to a commission meeting and speak your mind.
I
She
did
has.
the last one,
You know,
and
I know.
spoke my mind, and at the very end of the meeting, if you listen, the commissioners were appalled, a couple of them. It's like, what? And he had his wife, who was it?
Jeff Pugh.
Jeff Pugh had his wife go out and take pictures and said, why are these signs here?
Right.
You can't do this. They need to be pulled up. And I'm like, yes,
So
we're getting our beach backs. And guess
Let
what?
me
They're still there.
Let me elaborate, since we're, if you don't mind, I'm going to
Yes.
switch. I'm going to switch discussions, and we'll move from the garbage to the sign issue.
Please.
Okay. When I first started, there was a dispute over signage at Beachway in Old Ocean.
I do remember
Okay.
that.
And that was the first property that I'm aware of since I've been here that installed a no trespassing sign on the beach.
Yes.
Okay? That was driven by a commissioner. Not that commissioner, but a different
Exactly.
one. Okay? Then the town was actually instructed to go and install signs, and I participated because I was directed to in helping to install them along several areas of the beach. Okay? That should not have been installed. So the sign issue is way, way bigger than one property. And I have fought in meeting after meeting and meeting with the town attorney and commissioners about these sign changes being made, meaning that there's an ordinance that goes into effect that every property owner on the beach has to adhere to, and that the town specifically and clearly set out what the rules are.
Right.
The problem, and I'm going to be completely transparent with you, the problem with the signage issue is that the town signage ordinance is on the border of being unconstitutional. Okay, because it talks about content of the sign, which years ago was okay, but in today's day and age, there's been too many court cases that have been won that we can't regulate the content of a sign, only the sign itself. Okay, so with all that being said, we have asked for our attorney and for the town to create a new ordinance that meets the constitutionality requirements and put that ordinance into effect. The problem is that nobody will take that action because they like the content of the current ordinance, because it allows them to restrict things
Yes.
that may not be restrictable in the new ordinance. So this
But we
is
do seem to have almost a consensus on the commission right now for getting rid of signs on the dry sand beach.
and
but
probably
That's outside of your
probably
bailiwick,
would
obviously.
need to be all signs.
Yes.
Right.
You know,
On the sand. We're not talking about in the dune.
it's beyond the appearance factor. It's beyond what it looks like.
Yes.
It's beyond a danger to boaters. It's beyond all these other things that you can load onto that. There are factors that should be considered legitimately for signs.
Yeah.
And the fact that they can just float away, and the fact that they can,
and have done so 4 times.
that is a problem.
Absolutely.
Whether it's, I've had this conversation with others in this community before, whether it's that they have to be tethered to a piece of property and they can be no more than so many feet from vegetation, or,
Right.
let's just get a blanket rule in place that we all have the ability to clearly look at and say, okay, this is in violation, it's not in violation.
Yeah.
that is
Rather
what,
than it being a questionable
that is
issue.
what we're working towards, and I appreciate that you have to uphold the law as the law exists, and I think you realize that we have called you once or twice. I actually don't think I've ever called you, but we try to be respectful and understand. Officer Pilon deserves a medal for handling an hour and a half of contentious behavior.
This is another-
However, I do believe that we are really striving not to be contentious here. We're only looking to see what the law says, and you have had some very aggressive, belligerent behavior from other residents.
Turtle Beach. Turtle
our-
Beach.
Turtle Beach.
I've been belligerent too.
Have you been belligerent? Oh, shame. Well, you're on record.
But he confesses and admits it.
No, I mean we're just trying to be civil and friendly here, and certainly as far as the police goes,
Yeah.
I get the situation that you're in.
We're in
You
a
know,
unique
and every one of you,
We're in a unique predicament because you clearly said it. You hit the nail on the head. We have laws that are in place those are the ones we have to adhere to, but not every law is clearly defined. And many of them have so much gray area that you have to use experience like Officer Pylon did to go, okay,
And when it comes to
how do
code
I apply
enforcement,
this?
it is very tricky because I would say that the vast majority of our codes are probably unconstitutional.
Or at least they may be old, outdated, or they're not clearly defined. Or
But-
there's contradictions in other ordinances that contradict that ordinance.
I'm aware.
You
I'm
know,
aware.
and that's why I don't know if you all know this, when I became the chief, I took all the police officers who used to all do code enforcement and we reined all that back in and we assigned it to one officer to create consistency so that we didn't have 18 different officers
Trying to
going out
interpret
and
the code.
interpreting it 18 different ways, and then you guys as residents would hear from one officer one day, another officer the next day, and you would get contradicting information. So we tried to rein that in, give it to one officer, let that one officer handle it unless he wasn't here. That worked very well for us, but there are times that he's not here, and then other officers have to just kind of, deal with those issues. But we try to provide everybody with the same equal enforcement capabilities that we can offer as police officers and the same customer service skills that we can offer no matter what community they live in and no matter whether they have a political connection or not.
Well, you can understand when I'm hearing on the other side, we
I
had
do.
talked to the chief. In fact, someone said they had already been down in your office that morning. It's on
Yep.
video, and it's
We're
like
we're
wow.
getting that kind of information and that kind of threat, harassment, and
Yeah.
belligerence. That basically they've got you.
That
They've got you
commissioner
on their
was
side.
in town hall that morning. She was in the town manager's office. Okay, and the reason I'm going to tell you this, not because I have obligation, but I knew when I walked in the office, we had already handled this dispute down here that morning, and there was a commissioner there. I promptly left the office.
So you wouldn't have conflict of interest.
Don't want to put myself in that
Because
predicament.
I asked Susan, I met her on the street, and I asked her, do you find this a conflict of interest? She said, absolutely not. And just think, it's the first time in all the years I've owned in Ocean Ridge that I felt like this arrogance of, this is my town. And no, we cannot come on my beach.
As you all know, there's an election
It's like, whoa.
process.
Right.
It is
Yes,
right around the
believe me.
corner. Obviously, you get the same right as every other resident does to vote what you believe is
Right.
proper and right.
Before the
That's-
first 14 years before I moved here, you never heard from me. I waved, I went out on the street, how you doing? We'd have bonfires on the beach. And,
I actually,
you
the
know,
very first time I ever in my career was disciplined was right here at this property the first year I started here.
was by
I
me.
backed into that concrete post right there while they were building your house.
Well,
And I damaged the back bumper of a police car. In 20 years of policing, I'd never been disciplined, and then the first
Darn.
2-3 months I worked
darn.
here,
Well, I hope it's not a bad omen for you, please. You know,
so
because this is not what I want. I want for all of us to get along. I want that everybody can go to the beach.
and
We'd
want
like
the
to
same
get back
thing.
to that nice, quaint beach town where we're all friends, we're all neighbors,
Yeah,
we all
hi.
take care of each other, and no one has to assert in some kind of dominance and
Until we all believe the same way and have the same thoughts in mind, we're never going to be there
So how do we
because
get
everybody individually has their own personal beliefs,
That's the problem.
and
Do
nobody
I have
is
to
willing
run for commission to get what I want?
and
Is that
nobody
the
is
trick?
willing to compromise to come together as a community and make that happen.
We try.
And
Before
that's-
even this, I wrote letters to them. Before it became a trash saying, I'm your neighbor. We're your neighbors. We're the people you speak to on the beach and the side. You know, and you're trying to keep us off the beach because it was saying they're going to put up the keypad with a combination to keep us off. That's why we bought the property.
Have you
To be
all
able
done
to
a
go
records
back to-
request for the permitting process
Yes.
and all that? Okay.
yes. We have heard that there was a permit issue. That's why I brought that up. We've heard that there was a permit issued. It was approved. However, on the permit, the keypad itself is on their property, not on Sunrise Beach property.
Okay.
So that's why the keypad that's why the lawyer asked the keypad to be removed from the property. And that was only 2 years ago, I believe, that they did that gate with the keypad.
Yeah, I mean, if it was a man gate and they're walking, but it does, you know, it's truthfully. if
So
they
we
didn't
need to
start
get, I
all
guess
this
we need
stuff
to get
against
Durrani
us,
Guy
we
to come out
probably-
here and explain how he approved that permit.
Or if you just get a full copy of the application. the
Apparently our lawyer
survey.
has it.
Yeah.
We've been trying to get in touch. It's holidays. We're having some trouble getting
And
back.
I know it's the last thing you want to hear, but you guys are spending a lot of money to have an attorney.
Right.
Take advantage of the attorney.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Okay.
you're not going to resolve this the way you've tried previously.
Well,
it's not going to
The
work.
attorney said that you need to report it.
Document every
we
use.
have to
Yeah.
have it documented. And so we were sending pictures of the trash, and it was like, okay, well, you know, they've received the letter. Let's just put it back on their driveway. And so I put it over there, and I mean, I just put it right behind the keypad, and it was like, wait a minute, this
Well,
is getting nowhere.
he
And
came
then-
through. He bagged his garbage. I'm allowed to say, Mr. Feinstein, you can, I guess, who lives on the other end where there is trash pickup. He bagged his garbage, put it in his car, and drove it all the way around to throw it into this pile. I mean, this is very aggressive,
Yeah, just to make
belligerent behavior. And we're trying very hard not to be aggressive and belligerent.
I'm trying very
It-
hard
Good.
to be belligerent.
It won't resolve the problem.
Right.
All it does is create new problems for you.
Okay.
I've said that before. I promise you that's all it's going to do.
Okay.
And if they're acting foolish, it's going to cause problems for them too.
Okay.
Okay? And I don't mean that negatively, the word foolish. I'm just
Right.
saying that if they want to misbehave and do those kind of things and you've documented it, that's not going to look good for them either.
Okay, Chief.
So-
I do have a long video. It's 2.5 minutes of being threatened. Can I send that to you?
You can send me anything you want, but your verbiage of threatening, if it's about dumping garbage on your property, that's not a threat in Florida.
Okay.
So there's nothing legally we can do with that. You can send it so it's documented
Okay.
that you've sent it. I mean,
Okay.
anything you send me via email, there's a copy of stored in the archive system. So, you know, I'll respond to it and say, you know, received, whatever, and then it's documented.
Okay.
And I would give you the same advice your attorney probably has. Continue to document, continue to video, continue to take pictures. Even a notepad with dates and times are helpful in the old school of thought. The new school of thought, use email. Send yourself an email. Today's date, I had an encounter with Mr. Feinstein. This is what happened. And then send it. The reason you want to do that is because it documents the date and time and it makes it a legitimate record. All those things become evidentiary items that you can use when you have a civil hearing to say this is the kind of behavior we're being faced with, this is why we're asking for this to be heard, and it all helps you build a case. And that's what you all need to do at this point, is you need to have all your ducks in a row, you need to have all your documentation together, and you need to have any videos, recordings, pictures, documents, whatever you can get, so that you have everything available to you and your attorney for a hearing.
So if I just, because I'm not trying to make y'all spend your whole life on their garbage. I don't want to spend my whole life on my garbage. I can call every week and say the trash is out there without having just to document it, or do you need to come out here?
We don't need to come out. If you want us to come out, we're more than welcome to come out.
But if I just call and say,
If you
I
just
wanna
call and
report
say,
it.
I just want to let you all know, can you just generate a CAD? The garbage is placed out here again today. We took pictures of it. It's a recorded phone call.
Okay. Okay.
You're welcome to do that too.
Because truthfully, I really wasn't happy having all of that. My daughter said, what are you going to do, Mom? You going to move? I mean, this is not.
I know. It's the last thing you want to do, but it's also, you get to a point where you start to build up to a point where you're like, I'm tired of fighting this fight every time you turn around.
Well,
I understand
I feel
it.
like I'm fighting the town. I feel like I'm fighting Turtle Beach. Because everything about in this town that seems like you need to fight for is connected with Turtle Beach. And so
Well, there's one commissioner connected to Turtle Beach. You still got 4 more.
you've got a town lawyer, you've got people that have done things for the way they've done it. We have Old Town managers, there's all kinds of things we hear have gone on. It's now become aware that it's almost like self-serve. And, you know, I'm naive. That's not what I bought into. And it's sad. Excuse me, but it's emotional.
No, I understand. I understand your frustration. I'll tell you, we get frustrated with it too. We do. We, like I said, we try very diligently to stay on that single path that we're supposed to stay on. And you're constantly pulled in different directions when there's a special interest or a need to have something done, but we don't get involved in that anymore. We have not done that since August of last year. We will not get involved in that.
I hope that other branches of our government will not, our local government will divide and not get involved in, you know, individuals' agendas. Because that's what I feel like it is. And like you said, it's happened on other streets when someone else was in office. So if you want something done, or you want to do anything you want, become queen for the Wildcat. That's not how I view it.
That's not how it should be. The
No.
rules in the ordinance should apply to everybody equally.
Okay, I thank you guys.
I'm sorry we can't do more to help you. I wish we could.
Okay, I'm going to go on record of saying that I'm going to leave the track points.
Okay.
Because I don't want to start more fighting and all.
I honestly, and this is me personally telling you this, not in a position of authority, I think you're a better person by doing that, because all it does is show that what they're doing isn't bothering you.
Well, it hurts.
I know it
because I
does.
cannot even believe that there's people like this
Yeah.
in a community. It's, to
It
me,
almost
it's bizarre.
it almost reminds you of middle school, right?
Oh, God, yes. Bullying. And that's what it is. And that's the crazy part.
And they're only successful at it when they see a response from you.
Well, I have to say that their lawyer was very not happy because he said, you have a smirk on your face. Why are you smiling? And it was just like, it's because this is so bizarre.
Smiling because it's ridiculous. This is just ridiculous.
Yes. So, no, I will not move it. I'm going to let our lawyer, but I am going to call you if I, you know,
And I'll let the dispatchers know. I'll tell them that you guys may be calling to document it, and that if you don't request for us to come out, that way they don't get the pleasure of seeing a police car here.
Okay.
You call, you document it, we put it in the system. It'll be done with the documentation aspect then.
Can I send you a picture?
You sure can.
Okay, so expect a picture every Tuesday and
And if
Friday.
you don't want to call and you just want to send me a picture, you can send me a picture, and I'll respond
Okay.
I'll respond every day and say receive, thank you.
Thank
and I'll
you.
create a whole new folder just for
For me.
this incident, and then I'll just put everything,
Okay.
because we had to do that anyways when we got the letter from the attorney.
Okay.
So, you know, there's really no way to associate that to something when there was no call for it to go with originally.
Okay.
So we had to create a folder for that anyway, so we'll just continue to load everything in there.
Okay, now.
Okay?
Thank you, guys. I'm sorry if I go on, but it is emotional.
I hope you all have a great new year. I know it's not starting out too well for you, but I hope you have a great new year, and I hope you guys had a good holiday and all that good stuff. So.
Thank you very much.
It was
And
good
I'll
meeting you.
recognize you next time,
All
I
right.
promise. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Chief.
Thanks, Gabby. Appreciate it. I knew who you were. I wasn't.
It's for
I
the
was
record.
trying to associate what you were doing.
It's what I'm doing.